Good
Morning,
morning,
everyone.
Facebook world. This is episode 14. It's an
Mhm.
interesting one that comes up all the time. Uh, Pets and real estate. What should you do? Tips and suggestions for kind of runs the gamut, like how to get your house prepared um, when you have pets for showings, and then the actual showings themselves, because obviously logistically that can be really tricky.
Yeah.
And um, And then I guess we can also, if we have time, we'll mix in a little bit finding the right house with the that's pet friendly. So,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
so I'll put Dana on the spot and
Yes.
ask you to go first. As you know, Dana has a tremendous background in contracting, and so I thought he could talk a little bit about the dreaded puppy pet stains,
Yes. The puppy pet stains, and moreover, the stains is the smell that you get. The urine
especially
as it
cats.
dries. Especially cats. Cats are the worst, for sure. But dogs are bad. I mean, cats are definitely the worst. And that smell is hard to get out for sure. There's not a whole lot you can do when you get into the wood. You know, if the cats or dogs have a lot of accidents and it gets into the wood of the house. But the house that we're living in now had a lot of uh, marks everywhere.
Hmm.
So I ended up coating the entire house with kills, with oil-based kills. Is really hard to get a hold of, but it really does a really great job of blocking out the stains. So I ended up killing all of the bedroom level floors and our living room as well. Just rolled it on, put two coats on. Matter of fact, when we bought the townhouse, Jim, we had to do the same thing because the people we bought the townhouse from, one of the bedrooms was their ferret room, and uh, and they
Can't
had
imagine
kind of
that's any
covered it up
good.
with what's that?
I said I can't imagine that's any good.
Yeah, no, ferrets, have their own smell as well. And that was pretty bad. And I did the same thing there. I killed the floor, put two coats on, and then we put new padding and carpet in there, and you'd never know. So it worked out really well. But the bigger the house, the more smells you have, a little bit harder the job becomes. So, but
Are
kills.
there any other tricks if people can't get a hold of oil-based kills that work or
I
that
mean, you can use
people
water-based
claim that
kills
for?
for sure. You can definitely use water-based. The water-based products have gotten really, really, really good over the years, and they really, EPA is really trying hard to get rid of oil-based products because they're a little bit harder on the environment. And the fumes, the VOCs that they put off are pretty bad as well. Like, you should really wear a respirator unless you want to get high while you're rolling the house. It's not. I mean, it's
We know a
harsh, and
guy
it'll give
like
you a
that.
headache. It'll give you a
We know a
headache
guy
after
like that,
just
don't we, Mike?
what's
Don't we,
that?
Dana? I said we know a
What?
guy like that.
Yeah, we know. Yes, yes, we do, and it definitely has some long-term lasting effects
Hmm.
um, that you never get rid of. Um, but yeah, I mean that's about all you can do is put some kind of sealer down on the floor to try to lock that smell in. They do make
Right.
stuff, I think, like Stanley Steamer and some of the like carpet cleaning places out there. They make at least for pets, I imagine for dogs too. The deal with cats is that, and then when the urine dries, it kind of crystallizes, and any kind of moisture, like when you have a hot, humid day that we get in Maryland, that will react with the urine crystals, and it will kind of like reactivate it and make it like it's fresh urine again. So, which is why that's so difficult to get rid of. But they have some kind of product that you can spray down, and it kind of neutralizes those crystals, waters them down. I don't really get rid of them. Um, but it definitely will cut down on the smell. So I guess if you treated it first that way and then came back through with a sealer, you would do a pretty good job of keeping those smells locked in, or covered up, I guess you should say.
All right. So while we're talking about cat litter and cat
Mhm.
litter boxes, where should they be?
Um, in the basement, if you can put them in the
As far
basement.
away from people as you can.
Yeah, I mean, stick them in the corner, or cats are finicky. They don't like you moving their stuff around. Um, but yeah, as far as away from people, and yeah, we got a whole game. So as far as like the smells and stuff, it's hard to get out of concrete as well because concrete is very porous, as you know, and that urine will get in there and it will go down into the concrete, and that's hard to get out as well. But again, you can seal over top of it. You can seal concrete with all different kinds of products that they have up there, and that will definitely happen. That's only the basic level. If you've got a cat or a dog that likes a corner, you might have to replace moldings, that kind of stuff, because you're never really going to get that stuff. So, yeah, that's other than
It's
that,
actually, I mean, it's right up there with smoke, with cigarette smoke, and
100%.
Curry is another. People have cooked with curry a lot. It's really tough to get out of the walls, and dog and cat urine is right up there with it.
I showed a property yesterday that was that way. I mean, and you can only stay in the house, and I don't, people become immune to it. They don't realize really actually really bad for you, and extremely bad for kids as well. Don't really realize that it's as bad.
Asthma, right? Doesn't it cause asthma?
It causes all kinds of things. Yeah. But I think people get immune. They don't realize that they get immune to it because it's their day in and day out living in the house with those smells. But I mean, my eyes were burning yesterday. The ammonia was so bad in the house. I was like, I got go outside and get fresh air. It was horrible. So that's always that's a tough one. Yeah, where to go from there, Jimmy?
No, I get it. Yeah, so just it's something to consider. If you're listing your house, then know that you're going to have to put in a little effort to get that out. And if you're buying a house, know that if you buy a house with that, it's not going to be as simple as, oh, when they get their stuff out of the house, it'll go away. You're going to have to do a little bit of work.
You're going to have to do some work because a lot of people think that, oh, we'll just put new carpet and padding, and it's beyond the carpet padding. Typically, it's beyond the carpet padding, and typically with animals, as you know, they have lots of them have their favorite spot. So, it just keeps soaking further and further and further into the wood. As a matter of fact, in this house, I had to replace some of the subfloor because it was so bad. I killed it and then came back a couple days later and I could still smell it. So I cut out some of the subfloor and put new pieces of subfloor around the house in the bad area. And that helped a tremendous amount. Once it gets into that OSB board, you're really not going to get it out. You can cover over it, but you're really not going to get it out. And it will, on humid days, it can come back.
All right. So
it makes things a little bit difficult because, like I said, people living in their houses, they don't really realize how bad it is.
Okay, Dana, next tough question. Do people like showing houses with dogs and cats in the house?
No. Well, I mean, cats, not that big a deal. Most of the time, cats, it's just an extra added thing that you got to keep track of.
Plus, the other thing with a cat, I think, is that then, for me anyway, it automatically makes me think, okay, well, then where's the, how hard is it going to be to get the pee smell out of here?
Right. Correct. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely 100% with the cats. It's hard, but and there's steps that you can take to get the pee smell out. But I think most people, and probably a lot of agents as well, don't really know how to do that. It's not as simple as adding a carpet. But
yeah.
I mean, I guess.
So how do we feel about dogs in the house, Dana?
I am not a fan of dogs in that. You mean as far as like showing property?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not really a fan of the dogs in the house. I'm not afraid of dogs. I definitely don't want to punch somebody's dog. But dogs have big teeth and they're meant for biting and big jaws. I feel like, dogs can be unpredictable. And I know when they're, when their owners are around, they can be a completely different animal than when the owners are not home and the dog feels like he's protecting the castle, she's protecting the castle. I just, so please, if you have dogs, I hope that they're.
Yeah, I think even, because we get people that like how they have this little Lhasa Apso or whatever, and he's so sweet. But even if the dog is not mean, there's a healthy portion of the population who don't like dogs at all.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's a distraction,
yeah.
And you want people paying attention to the house and paying attention to what they're seeing and the floor plan and the room sizes. And You know, when you put a cute little fuzzy dog, you know, I always like to say that, you know, everybody's 12. So if everybody's 12, then, you know, they're going to come out of that house going, well, what did I just see other than a cute dog?
That was my situation last week. I showed a property down in Annapolis, and there was a cute little 2.5 pound dog in there and fuzzy, and he had a little sweater on, or she had a little sweater on, and all that kind of stuff. And my client was like, "Oh, the little doggy, da, 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 da." And of course the dog loves that and's eating it up, and now the dog won't leave her alone, and he's jumping up on her and everything else, and it's, you know, it becomes a little bit obnoxious, and it's kind of like pictures on the wall. Then no, we're here to see a property, not no, we're not.
Not to play tiddlywinks.
Exactly. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
you know, it's very distracting. It's like the pictures on the wall.
Yeah.
It's distracting.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. And then the other thing that we get a lot of is people, they put their dogs in a crate. And what happens there, Dana? What's
Well,
the
then they
problem with
bark.
dogs in the crate? They bark
They
like crazy.
whine and they bark and they whine and they bark and they just want to get out. And then
Also
tough.
not good for a showing.
Which is also not good for a showing. When a dog won't stop barking, that's not exactly great for a showing.
Now that being said,
Look at all of
you
these
know,
features.
right. The sad thing is, though, it's really not practical for most people to, like, you know, say, okay, let me let my dogs go stay here for a month while I sell the house. So, you know, it's something we have to work around. And so, you know, we try like real hard to locate the crate, you know, maybe put it in the garage or in the basement somewhere that, if the dogs are crated, you know, where,
Right.
you can at least minimize the distraction. But it's just one of those things to think about. You know, if you are considering putting your house on the market, and you have, certainly if you have more than one, you know, if you can start to think about a plan. And the luxury you have right now is the houses are moving so quick that, you know, if you get your house right and everything else is good about your house, you know, you're
Yeah.
probably only talking, you know, a long weekend of not
Yeah.
having your dogs, and then you can get back to somewhat normal. But it's something to think about, and it's more than a notion. And it's funny because it's more relevant now than ever, because you know, with the quarantine, you know, so many people that were never pet people before are now pet people. So, you know, I think you got people who aren't used to it, who don't really know what the protocols are. And um, so it's the thing.
Yeah, and a lot of times people they're, you know, kind of oblivious to their own pet, and so when they're in the house, they're like, "Oh, he's a cute, friendly little dog. You know, he won't bother anybody and all that." You know, because they only see that one side of that dog. So it just,
Right.
like you're saying, it just makes things. It just adds another layer of stuff.
Well, and like you said, as far as the smell thing goes, I think it's funny. Every single house has a unique smell. It
Yeah.
has its own, like, and so like, and if you ever need to have a reminder that, you know, whenever you go on vacation, you come back in your house for the first time in a week, you go, oh, this is what my house smells like.
Yep,
When you're in
that's
there, you
right.
don't know. You know, it's not bad. It's just this thing. You know, I'm sure right now, if you think about it, you can remember what your mom's house smells like. You know, in the
Yeah,
cooking. So,
that's right.
but it's a thing. So, and if you have pets, just know that even though you can't, and as an agent, you know, probably some of the harder conversations we have to have with people revolve around pet odor.
Yeah.
So, because the people don't know it, and you know, and then, you know, some people, they take it personally, like it reflects poorly on them, that, you know, they're not clean people, or they don't, you know, take care of their house. And the reality is, it's just it's part and parcel with owning a pet. And we get, you know, unfortunately, you live there, you get used to it, so you
Right.
don't notice it.
Yeah,
So.
that's right. That's right.
So, okay. And then the last thing, this is sort of a no-brainer, I think, but when you're buying a house, if you have pets, pay attention to your surroundings a little bit. Number one, we always talk about, if you want a pool, buy a house with a pool.
Mhm.
I'd say the same thing for a fence. You know, a nice fence these days is $10,000 to $15,000 for, you know, the average quarter-acre yard. And you know, it probably, what do you think it gets from an appraiser, Dana, in resale?
Couple grand, maybe four
Yeah.
grand, depending on how.
Probably you're pushing it. Yeah. So
Depending on how
a
big.
fraction, pennies on the dollar.
Yeah,
Really.
right, yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So
It's
you
lopsided,
know,
put it that way.
yep. Yep. So if you have an opportunity to buy a house with a fence, and that's a deal breaker for you, and you're tight on cash, you know, that's a way to go, because number one, you're going to be able to finance whatever extra is in there for that fence over 30 years. But in all likelihood, you know, it gets a minimal value compared to what it would cost you to have to do that separately down the road. So and then, and also, I would say, pay attention to how close you are to sidewalks and trails and dog parks. You know, the area, we're blessed. There's lots of dog parks in the area.
Yeah.
But your proximity to those, you know, is a factor. And, you know, I think that, you know, I think that it's a selling feature to be close to some of these, you know, amenities for dogs. And, you know, especially if you're buying in a condo or in a city, you know, make sure you get a building that's pet friendly,
Pet friendly.
and actually does some
Town
things for that
friendly.
other than just saying yes.
Because lots of times condos have a minimum or they have a maximum weight.
Not the dog pound. The
You're
dog
right.
weight.
Not the dog pound. Take them to the pound.
That sounded bad, Dana. Like round them all up.
The weight of the dog.
Yes.
Lots of times they have like a.
especially condos. They want you to have
Yeah.
small dog.
Yeah, that's right.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Well, you got somebody that's got a dog that's, you know, especially if you have two of them or whatever, and they're running around like kids upstairs, and it's, you know, gets loud.
Yeah. So all right. Anything you want to add for the week? Anything you want to talk about?
No, just it's, you know, it's still hot out there. Still things are moving pretty quickly.
Yep.
So-
Interest rates are creeping up. So
Yeah.
if you're on the fence and you're thinking you're going to wait, and again, nobody has a crystal ball, and things are certainly crazy. But I would just tell you, the one thing that's very, very different about now compared to 2005, there's almost no inventory, which was not the case then, and there's no real light on the horizon for that. And according to people way smarter than Dana and I, it stems from a lack of new construction.
Yeah.
So, and you can see that around here. You know, we've noticed, obviously, as hopefully you all know now, we have a shop in Southwest Florida, on the Gulf Coast, and Florida is so big that it sort of sprawls. So when one neighborhood fills up, they just, you know,
Start another
break
one.
ground right next to it and keep going. So, but here, that's not, you know, you'll never have that. I mean, we're built out. I mean, there's very little new construction. There's very little acreage and bandwidth for, you know, one of these mega neighborhoods, a Piney Orchard or, you know, a Walden. You know, they just don't have the room for those.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just going to continue to create a scarcity situation for the inventory that we do have here. So, you know, again, you know, if you want to time the market, you know, you're probably smarter than me, but I heard something not too long ago and it stuck with me. You know, the best time to buy a house is always 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and I would use that. And I know I've said this a bunch too, but if you break down, if you ever do the Ben Franklin close and you decide whether it's time to buy a house and you put the pros and the cons, you know, I guarantee you that if you put them in order, financial gain is probably going to be fairly low on your list of pros. So you got to have a place to live, and you know, the way even at today's prices, your mortgage is probably going to be less than what it would cost to rent the same place. And when you factor in your tax break, you know, it's going to cost you, you know, 35-40% more, and you don't get anything from paying all that money. So
Yeah.
So anyway,
Well
that's
said.
just my 2 cents worth. Yeah.
Well
So
said.
yeah, so we're doing really good in Florida. So again, anywhere south of Tampa, north of Fort Myers, we've got you covered. It's absolutely beautiful down there. Beautiful time of year too. And you know, they're having the same kind of a market down there, but you know, their whole thing down there is, you know, get it, like, you know, I bought my place what I settled 2 weeks ago, and prices are up $15,000-$20,000 since I bought. So it's pretty crazy. So if you're thinking about it, and like for me, you know, obviously it's not going to be my home for a long time, but you know, these are, you know, if you're in your good earning years like we all are, you know, it kind of makes sense to start thinking ahead, have another place that you can pay on, or have in place.
Well, you don't
so
notice
that,
it.
yeah, so
I
that
mean-
when you get there, you know, you kind of have some roots and a plan. So
Yeah.
And then, you know what, there's worse places to have to go on vacation. So
Right, that's right.
So. All right, everybody, that's it for this week. We'll see you next Tuesday. Have a good
Next
one.
Tuesday at 10.